But the GOP's main focus is on the IRS's funding ratcheted up criticism of the bill by going after an agency whose tax collection mission makes it an easy target. Now, good news, a lot of progress going on, much movement is being made in Congress, and there's a ton of these to talk about in this fourth stimulus check update. For instance, President Biden and everybody has extended the pause on student loan payments through May 1st. And also, several lawmakers in Congress are now making moves to change the filibuster. That's done to get more relief bills passed by the end of the year. Now, Joe Biden announced that he's extending the pause on student loan payments just until May 1st. The payments were set to restart on February 1st, have been paused since the beginning of the crisis, and President Biden pointed to the ongoing crisis in the country as the reason for the extension. But that's not it, everybody. That's not all. That is not all. President Biden sent a statement giving these considerations. Today, my administration is extending the pause on the federal student loan repayments. That's for an additional 90 days through May 1st, 2022. So, the reversal comes less than 2 weeks after the White House press secretary, and we all know that Jen Psaki, had indicated the Biden administration, was still planning to restart federal student loan payments in February. This resisting pressure from some fellow Democrats who have been calling for an extension of the crisis relief benefits. And so far, borrower balances have effectively been frozen for nearly 2 years. That's with no payments required on most federal student loans since March 2020. During this time, interest has stopped adding up on collections and on defaulted debt that have been on hold. Both Biden and President Biden took actions to extend the pause, and most recently, Biden moved the payment restart date from September 30th to January 31st, 2022. That is next year. Now, the Biden administration has already made clear at the time that this would be the final extension, but we don't know how this is going to be. It might not be the final extension, but it might be. But Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren, and even Ayanna Pressley, have been pressuring Biden to extend the student loan repayment pause and applauded the extension announcement. They continue to urge Biden to take further action and cancel up to $50,000 of student loan debt per borrower, that is. He even said, President Biden, during his campaigns, on the presidential campaign, that is, that he would support canceling $10,000 per borrower. But he has not taken any actions toward this move. And right now, House progressives are calling on Joe Biden to use his executive power to implement parts of the Democratic agenda. That was stalled out in the Senate this month when Senator Joe Manchin said he couldn't vote for it. So, like Joe mentioned, everybody, in my previous videos I've been talking about, is the main reason why the stimulus checks haven't been sent out yet. The Congressional Progressive Caucus did say in a statement that today, the elected leadership of the Congressional Progressive Caucus is calling on the President and the Democrats who believe in the need of the Build Back Better for climate care and, of course, those seeking economic dignity. Now, Senator Chuck Schumer said that the Democrats will take up the voting rights bill once they return to work in January. Now, he also warned that they will also bring up changes to the Senate rules if Republicans block this bill to pass changes to the Senate rules. Schumer would need total unity within his caucus, and something he doesn't currently have. Schumer's decision to force a debate on changing the rules could put him at odds with, like, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin and Chris Sinema, for example. Both of those people have said they support the 60-vote threshold currently required for the most legislation in the Senate. So thank you again for your support, and if you have any more questions about the fourth stimulus check, just leave them in the comments below, and I will do my very best in answering them. Thank you again for everybody. Thank you again for your support, everybody. And until next time, have a great day.
$1,500 subsidy if you buy it, and it was made in a union plant. I mean, they talk about discrimination, and then they were going to spend a huge bunch of money to set up gas stations, refueling stations for these electric vehicles. And even Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, says, forget it, we don't need it.
Mm-hmm. No, I know his environmental policies would also be neutral, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So no singling out electric vehicles for tax credits. It seems reasonable. Here's more on Cardin on what the bill may ultimately look like if passed. Watch.
Well, that's a strategy decision that's being negotiated. We are open to a way to reach the finish line. We want to see it as comprehensive as possible, but we need to make sure that we have the votes to pass it. So that means it'll be different than some of us would like to see.
Are they really open? I mean, Democrats are on the attack against West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin since his announcement last week that he'd be a no vote on the massive Build Back Better spending plan. And now the narrative against Manchin is that he's a callous guy about child poverty. I mean, what grounds are they basing that accusation when Manchin is calling instead for child tax credits by imposing a work requirement for the child tax credit. How is that bashing?
To continue it, except that Chuck Schumer has people pulling and pushing and tugging from every possible direction, and I'm sure he's wondering what direction to go. But I do know this, that Joe Manchin may have saved the re-election of 2, 3, or 4 possibly Democratic senators who are, who would have had to vote yes on BBB, on Build Back Better, but would rather not have voted at all. They were awarded this opportunity to give it a pass for a year. And yet they just seem hell-bent on doing it. And maybe there's a whole bunch of Democratic members willing to be martyrs at the altar of socialism. If that's the case, maybe they'll find a way to vote on it yet and further lead to their political demise while destroying the country.
Well, Senator, it just occurs to me in terms of Chuck Schumer's legislative and political strategy, that he may not be calling the shots. AOC may be calling the shots. What some people call Sandy Cortez, the House member, who may run against Schumer in the primaries in New York. But, I mean, he's kowtowing to her and her group. That's what it sounds like.
I don't think there's any question, Larry, that in the back of Chuck Schumer's mind, every move he makes, every vote he calls, he's thinking about AOC and the possibility that she'll run against him in a Democratic primary in New York. I do think that's one of those pressure points I talked about earlier. Now, in addition to that, of course, he's got a White House that's tugging at him. He's got Speaker Pelosi that's pulling. They're all responding to those very same pressure points. But it is, in my mind, what's such a great tragedy about is that a once great Democratic Party has become this bizarre socialist agenda where they seem to be putting all the chips on the table this year while they have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. And thank God for Joe Manchin and others like him, but especially Joe Manchin, who has, trying to save America and in the process may very well save the Democratic Party.
Well, I don't think I'll save the Democratic Party, but I think all of us will help save America. I mean, Kevin, the country hates this bill, okay?
Yes,
the country just hates this bill. And Senator, can I just, we were talking about Manchin and other matters, whether Manchin might switch parties. Mitch McConnell on my show and elsewhere have suggested, he's all open to it. I don't know if it works for Joe Manchin or not.
Right.
He might have trouble in a Republican primary. But I want to just put that aside for a minute. Mr. Manchin will play a big role in whatever budget votes come up. I want to ask you about Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, your colleague. He was asked if he would consider another bid for the presidency. And he quoted, and I'll quote directly, "Absolutely.